The shoulders we stand on. Whether we stand on them directly or indirectly, there are people in our lives that help to form the axioms that develop into what will be a worldview, your perception of the way things are later on in life. I feel far too few acknowledge these shoulders that we stand on. And even more, the shoulders that they stood on. And even more, the shoulders that they stood on. And so on, and so on, and so on. How many people have started reading the Bible, and then it got to the point where it was, and he was the son of, and lived 562 years. Who begot, and was the son of, and lived 900. Who begot, and was the son of, and lived, and was just like, I can't do this.
Whether it was because you found it boring or unimportant or irrelevant, you just quit reading. And that's a problem.
That's our society nowadays. That's the society that we have now. And that's why nobody appreciates the shoulders that they stand on, the shoulders that they stood on, the shoulders that they stood on, and the God that created man to have shoulders.
Ideas.
And then we wonder why no one appreciates anything. If you don't appreciate the most important things,
if you don't appreciate the simple things like God is true, then how can I expect you to understand far more complex things like morality?
how am I to expect you to appreciate the mundane and the minute details? All that to say is, like, at one point in my life, not too awful long ago, I felt the same way. Oh, look, man, I'm happy that you guys have your book that tells you not to steal, not to kill, not to cheat, and all that good stuff. But, like, me, I just know, like, that's bad. And if you ask me, well, why is it bad? And I would just be like, well, it's bad to kill people. And you'd ask me, well, why is it bad to kill people? And I would say, well, it's bad. And then you'd ask me, well, why is it bad? And I'd say, well, it's bad to kill people. And we'd be in this.
You can substitute wrong and bad for the point of this argument.
Circular logic fallacy that you have no actual axiom, no actual worldview. You have no root to you. You are merely a wiltering rose. You're wiltering because you have no
Grounding.
foundation. You have nothing
Grounding you.
Connecting you to the source of life. Now, you're a rose, but that's because, well, the shoulders that came before you, the shoulders that came before them, the shoulders that came before them, at one point, we were a nation that was thriving because we understood, we were a whole nation that understood God first.
Amen.
Maybe you weren't believing that Christ was the Son of God, was born, lived, died, and resurrected, and is sitting at the right hand of God right now. Maybe you weren't that, but you definitely believe that, hey, you know what? It's a pretty good instruction book, and we're not going to just nix it. In fact, we're going to use it to, essentially, it's the bullet points for the Constitution. The same Constitution that every atheist wants to walk around and go, the Constitution, my Constitution, my Constitution. It's like, this Constitution, honestly, has nothing to do with you. Based on the men who penned it, it was written for a moral and religious society, and hopefully wrong for anyone who wasn't. The same reason that you go, my Constitution, is the same reason that you go, my preferences on it's wrong to kill people. There's no axiom, there's no truth, there's no consistent logic. There's just my preferences. And the difference between you and I is there at this point is understanding the shoulders that we stand on and appreciating it. And understanding that if I lived in Gaza, there's a pretty good chance I would have been raised to hate my Jews. And think that it would be perfectly fine for me to kill the Jews. That's the problem with my preferences worldview. That kind of my preferences worldview, and then thinking, because it's a worldview, folks. Just think it's a world view. So you're going to take your preferences, and when you make it a worldview, you are projecting that onto the rest of the world. And if you think for one fucking second that the rest of the world works with my preferences, that's how you become a gay for Gazans. Like, that's how brain broken that logic will lead you. You will support your own demise. It doesn't guarantee that everybody ends up as brain broken as a gay for Gaza, but no matter how you fall or fail, you will fall and you will fail if you don't appreciate the true foundation. You may wilter slower than some, but you will wilter. Once you've separated yourself from the foundation, the truth, the way, and the life that is Jesus Christ, you will fail, you will wilter. The good news about Christ is he's always ready to graft you back in.
Amen.
And I'm sorry, that seems to me to be a much better worldview to project on the rest of the world than my preferences.